everyone, welcome back to my channel. And today's video is actually going to be a very informative one. This video is going to be an advice video for new interns on how to get through a fashion internship, or what advice may be useful to you going through a fashion internship. I think I've got about 10 or 11 tips, so you might want to grab a notepad and pen and take some notes. I know that starting a fashion internship can be quite scary. You don't know what to expect. My first point is do some research on the company you are going to intern for. Now, it might seem like a really obvious point to make, but you'd be surprised at the amount of people that turn up to things like interviews or internships and they literally just know the very basic information about the company, like this season's collection, or maybe a few pointers about the designer. But if you are going to an internship, I'd advise that you know at least 4 of their collections from the 4 previous seasons, both autumn, winter and spring, summer. Just that when you get there, you kind of know what to expect. You kind of know what their handwriting is like as a brand. That is very, very important. Number 2, I would say if you are going to go and do an internship, I would say try and do one for 3 to 6 months. Whenever I've done my internships in the past, mine have always, apart from one, been around the 3-month mark, and I think 3 to 6 months is a really good time to get to know the collection, number one, so you can see collection right through from start to finish. Or if it's 3 months, you get to see it from halfway through to the end. Whereas if you go into a company I don't know, 2 weeks before fashion week, nobody has any time to explain anything to you. Nobody will know your name, nobody's going to remember you, and it's quite hard to get to grips with things. People can be a bit ratty because people haven't slept as much, and I think when you go in before the calm before the storm, it's a lot easier because you understand the collection. You get a chance to build up a really good rapport with people and kind of feel like part of the team as well. Number 3, I would say always go prepared with a notepad and pen. Even if you don't take it out of your bag and use it, it's always good to carry one with you. I remember I did one internship at a luxury fashion house, and literally as soon as I went in, I was briefed every single morning, and I had to stand there and write out every single thing I had to do, and it had to be done by the end of the day. And my list of things to do always filled up an A4 page. Some of the things were a bit repetitive, but nonetheless I had to do them, and it was a good way of keeping things in order. Number 4, don't be scared to ask questions at all. If you need help with something, just ask, because what I find, especially with new interns, they're so eager to impress that they won't ask questions, and they kind of just want to go full steam ahead at 100 miles an hour, which is great. Enthusiasm is fabulous, but for the first day that you're there, it's okay to kind of observe and have a look around and have a look at how people operate, have a look at how they get things done. If you're asked to do something and you're not sure, ask. It doesn't mean you're stupid. If you're a new intern, nobody's going to expect you to know everything in the first couple of days. You're an intern, and that is why you're there to learn, and don't allow other people to make you feel stupid for asking those questions either. When you ask questions as well, always try and gather as much information as possible, especially if you're getting sent out on an errand. I remember I got sent out on an errand just to get some beading needles, and it was when they asked me to get things, it was very vague. I think it was embroidery needles, and when I actually got to the store to get the needles, there was 6 different types of needles, and I didn't know which ones to get, and I just had to try and call her and text her and find out which needles she wanted me to get. And some people in that situation might have froze a little bit, but that's where you either have to just suck it up and ask them, or use your initiative. I say all that to say is gather as much information at once as possible, so you don't have to keep going back and forth asking them questions. Another thing I would say, guys, is make sure that you always have data on your phone, and that your phone is always fully charged, and always bring your charger in your bag with you as well. As a new intern, you will get sent here, there and everywhere, whether it's to, I don't know, pick up zips or to go and do pickups and returns from PR agencies. You're going to get sent here, there and everywhere, because when you do get sent out to go on errands, you are literally going to get an address and a postcode, and that is it. They're not going to give you any maps, and they're not going to, you know, give you any extra help on how to get to these places. you're expected to figure that out for yourself. And if you don't have any data, it gets difficult, because then if you get lost or you don't know where you're going, it's going to take you too long to get there, and then that can be a problem. There's also a really good app called City Mapper. I've used it myself when I've been on internships, and it's been a lifesaver, literally. City Mapper is so much better than using apps like Google Maps, because it uses less battery and it's more accurate as well. Like, it literally tells you where you are, and it gives you like a little compass and shows you if you're facing the right direction or not. Just be smart about how you use your data as well, and your battery life as well, guys. Like, if your battery's on 50% and you know you've got quite a long way to go before you reach to where you're supposed to get to, don't do things that are going to waste battery. Like, stay off social media, you know, don't listen to your music, save your battery, because if you're halfway to your destination and you get lost and your battery dies, there's a problem. I would always say that even though you're maybe going to write the address down in your phone, always write it on your notepad as well. Just because if your phone does die and you get lost, at least you still have the address on you written down somewhere. That way, if you are lost, you can just go to someone that works in, I don't know, the nearest tube station near the place that you're going to. They can kind of give you some directions. Volunteer to go on errands. I know it's not fun to always go here, there and everywhere, but what people don't seem to realise is going on errands is the best time to learn about the structure of the company and the supply chain as well. And it also is good if you would like to set up business for yourself afterwards, or if you're going into your final year and you want to do your graduate collection. It's a really good time to learn about, you know, where all their factories are, where they get their samples done, where the haberdasheries are, and where their PR companies are. It's a good time to know about where they get their fabrics from. Do not begrudge going on errands. And when you go, take your book with you, your notepad and pen, and just jot down where all of these things are. If those same people see your face over and over again, over time you build up rapport with them. So whenever it comes to you doing stuff for yourself personally, whether it's going to be in your graduate collection or just, you know, in your own business, that rapport's already set in stone and built, so you're not going to have to try and build those contacts from scratch. Probably one of the most important points is be nice to people. Like, being respectful to people is so important. Don't be disrespectful to people. I think that's one of the ugliest traits that I've witnessed within the fashion industry, is when people can be very disrespectful to interns, and it's not nice to watch. When those situations have tried to rear their head and occur, I've nipped that in the bud straight away, because I don't deal with that nonsense. I remember there was a particular incident at one of the internships I was doing. There was an intern that had been there longer, so she thought it was okay for her to boss people about, and she kept calling me you, but in a very derogatory way, and it was really ticking me off. So I said to her, stop calling me you, my name is Shara. And I wasn't rude, but I said it just like that, and I was very firm. And after that, she didn't do it again. I say all that to say, sometimes people do things to see how far they can push you, and because a lot of interns, they don't want to get themselves in trouble, they think they don't want to disrespect anyone, they'll just take that. If you do find yourself in that situation where you do feel like you're being disrespected, or someone is being very derogatory towards you, I would either say stand up for yourself and say to that, you don't even have to be rude about it. You can just say, I don't appreciate the way you're speaking to me, could you please stop? I remember when I was at an internship, and a girl said to me, you know, when you're an intern and you're at the bottom, you have to be expected to be treated like shit. And I said, no, sorry, let me stop you right there. Manners do not cost anything. And that was the end of that conversation. I first-hand seen some members of the company, when I got there, try and go out their way to be mean to interns or just have a diva-ish attitude. And then I've seen other interns try and emulate that same behaviour. I want to point out the difference to people right now, that starting at the bottom and being disrespected is completely different. I completely understand that interns, you know, you need to start at the bottom and then you work your way up. That's fine, but you don't need to be degraded while you're trying to work your way up either. If it gets really bad, I would go see your line manager, explain the situation, explain what's happening, and maybe they can kind of nip it in the bud for you. If it's even coming from your line manager and you are really unhappy at your internship, I would respectfully say that you're going to leave. I would rather you leave an internship that's making you really, really unhappy because of other people's wrongdoing towards you and derogatory comments towards you, instead of having to stay in that environment, which is quite unhealthy, and it can affect your learning process as well. And you don't want to do that, because there are really good internships out there. And the next point is, don't take things too personally. So what I would advise is have a thick skin and don't take things too personally, especially when it's like in the run up to fashion week. People don't sleep as well, people are getting really irritable. So if someone asks you for something and maybe it's not, you know, in the politest tone, or if someone tells you to go somewhere and it's not in the politest tone, don't take it personally. It's nothing personal against you. It's probably because they've got so many things on their mind, they've got 1,000,001 things to think about. It's not you, you're not a bad person. Just take it on the chin, let it roll off your back and keep it moving. Use your initiative to get things done. They like that at internships. After you've been there for maybe a week or two, they really like when their interns really take initiative and do things without being asked all the time. So for example, I remember when I was interning at a fashion house and I was the first person there and nobody had arrived. But you don't just sit there and wait for your studio manager or for the other interns to arrive. If you are the first person to arrive, what you do is you make sure everything is in order. So what I used to do is I used to put my coats and bags away, and then the first thing I would do is turn on the steam irons, check the levels, make sure they had water in them, and let them heat up. And the reason I would do that is because steam irons usually take between 20 to 30 minutes to heat up properly. So if you do that, if you're the first person in, when everybody else gets in, you're ready to work straight away. You know, make sure everything's tidy, make sure things are in order. If you know you're going to be pattern cutting, get the pattern cutting things out. You know, just make sure everything is just kind of ready to go. They want to see that the interns are proactive and can do things. Have a positive attitude and enthusiasm when you're doing things or when you're asked to do things, even if it's something as silly or miscellaneous as taking out the bin bags or getting coffee for people. And believe me, nobody wants to get coffee for people or take out bin bags, but if you do it with enthusiasm, then it allows those people to be able to see, well, actually, even when he or she's doing the smallest tasks, they have a really good positive energy about them. When you are leaving and saying goodbye for your intern to your other interns, or saying goodbye to the team of people you've been interning with or the company you've been interning with, what I would say is, instead of buying like cakes and sweets for everyone, which is great for the moment but it's not really useful, what I would advise is ask key members of the company for any advice you might be able to use, some information that will be helpful to you. You know, ask them for a good reference. Those things are so much more impactful and important than buying a cake. And the last point is, enjoy it if you can. It's going to be hard work, it's going to be intense, but speaking from experience, I've had good internships and I had one that I didn't really like, but speaking from the perspective where the internship was good, I had a really good time. It was hard work, but I learned so much. So guys, that is the end of the video. I hope you really enjoyed it, and I hope it's been useful to some of you out there as well. It might not be for everyone. If you're not into fashion, it's probably just going to go over your head, but I really do hope that it's useful information. And if you want to see more of these videos, just comment below and let me know, and I will see you in the next video. Bye. Mwah.